botanical gardens, monograph, all that thing. Okay, so then which means we have completed that chapter uh, for most of you. Okay, so people from EDUS, you alone, you have missed one class. Okay, so this one class, I will arrange it separately for you. And I will cover it, what is the introduction class. So that one alone will be there. So one of you is asking me to explain keys again. I will try to explain keys now. Okay, so please understand for EDUS people alone, there will be one extra class separately in which I will try to teach you the concepts which is yet to be covered to you alone. Okay, so for others, yeah, I will teach keys now. So just listen to me. What is a key? Key is a taxonomical aid. This is biological class. Yes, don't spam my text box, please. Ashwin. This is a biology class. If you are a computer science student, you can leave. Okay, I will cover key, monograph, and catalog. So what is a key? Say, for example, it is a tool which will help me to identify whether a particular organism is a particular organism or not. So say, for example, a key will help me to identify a particular species. Say, for example, I will create keys which are made up of two statements. Keys will have many two statements, which we call it as couplets. Okay, you will not have one couplet. You will have, like, say, like 50 couplet or 100 couplet or 200 couplet, like that. You will have like many couplets will be there to identify one particular species. Okay, so you can decide the number of couplets if depending on the detailing that you need to give. Okay, so this couplets will have two statements. One is what we call it as a lead one, and the second statement is called as a lead two. Okay, so these lead one and lead two will be two distinct statements which are near opposite. Okay, so if you are going to agree to the statement one, you should obviously disagree to the statement two. That way it will be. If you are going to agree to statement two, then you will disagree statement one. So these two statements are made in such a case. So say, for example, the organism is autotrophic. The organism is heterotrophic. If you are going to agree that the organism is autotrophic, naturally this will nullify this particular statement. If you are going to agree this particular statement, this will be nullified. So you have to make a particular statement contrasting such that it will not overlap. So like this, what I will try to do is, I will try to produce multiple keys, and I will also give key hints. So say, for example, I'm going to have key one. Okay, this key one is having two statements, lead one, lead two. If this is there, agreed, go to key 3. Like this will say. If you are agreeing to this particular statement, go to key 2. Like that it will say. So then this key 2 will have two statements. These two statements, this statement will be furthering an idea here in this key. So say, for example, I am going to answer a question like this. In plant kingdom, is it autotrophic or heterotrophic? The moment I'm saying autotrophic, it will take me to questions related to plant kingdom. If the moment I'm going to say heterotrophic, it will take it to this is biology class for JEE. Yes. If it is heterotrophic, it will take me to animal kingdom. So the keys related to this particular thing will be different. The keys related to this particular thing will be different. Okay. So say for example, if you're going to have a plant means like the next thing they will ask you is whether it is having a differentiated body or undifferentiated body. Undifferentiated will take me to algae. Like that, you are analytically trying to find out organisms. Okay. So you will have separate keys for separate species. So that is what is key. Okay. On the contrary, if you're going to talk about monograph, monograph is a writing about one taxon. I can write only about Leo, which is lion. Or I can write about the genus Panthera, which will include lion and tiger. I can write about Felidae, which is a cat family. So lots of people will try to write such monographs. Monographs means they will pick up only one particular thing. I mean like only one particular taxon. It can be a family, it can be an order, it can be anything. And what they would try to do is they would try to uh, write exclusively about a particular thing. So that is what we call it as a monograph. Monograph will contain detailed information about only one taxon. Okay. Say for example, in plants, I can have a monograph on Fabaceae. Fabaceae is a family, or I can have a monograph on Solanaceae, or I can have a monograph on Liliaceae. Like that, these are all families of plants. So I can exclusively write only about this family, and that is called as a monograph. Monograph on Fabaceae. So this monograph will have information only about what? Fabaceae. So this is like a book. Okay. So that is what we call it as monograph. If you're going to talk about catalog, catalog is related to multiple species present in one area. This is like a book, a catalog of birds found in Tamil Nadu. Okay. Or a catalog of mammals found in Karnataka. Or I can write a catalog on insects found in Bangalore. So I can write about anything, especially the flora or fauna with respect to a one particular area. Okay, so that is what we call it as catalog. So hope you are able to understand all these things. Okay, so this is what is key monograph catalog. With that thing, the living world lesson is over. Only for EDUS students, I will arrange a separate class and I will intimate a time. So I will have one particular class with you separately for completing this chapter, because there are some parts of it which you have missed it already. So I will teach them and I'll complete this chapter. Am I clear? Thank you very much. So what we will do is like we will now go to the next chapter, which is biological classification. Okay. Children, I need one small help from you. Okay. There are some people who have not yet written their school name in this particular thing. Okay. So I want you to rename your name with the school name. Okay. Depending on which school you are coming from, I want you to name your participant name in that way. If you are from Blossom, you please put it as BLSM 11. Okay, so similarly, if you are from EDUS, I want you to put the name of the school in front, put EDU 11 and then like your name. So someone is having EDU 11 as the name itself. I want you to rename and then like put it as your name. Yeah, you should name your name as EDU 11 Kirtana. Okay, please quickly do that so that like we will be able to take attendance who is attending and who's not attending. That will help us to streamline things a little bit better. So still some people are there. So even students who have missed it out and then who have joined newly, you can come and attend that class. Okay, some students joined last class only. From KNMS also you were there. So those students who have missed the class also can attend that class. I will intimate the time. You have already written Deepthi your KNMS 11, so it's not a problem. Okay, so now what we will do is we'll move on to the next lesson. Biological classification. Okay, so we are starting this new chapter. So in this chapter, you will be having, first we will go for introduction. Then we'll go for earlier attempts. Which is like we'll try to cover about the history of classification, how organisms are classified. Then we'll go to the five kingdom classification. So in which we'll try to cover about a kingdom called as Monera. Then we'll go for Protista. Then we'll go for fungi. Then you'll go for Plantae. And then you'll go for Animalia. And then finally, you'll study about viruses, viroids, lichens, and mycoplasma. Okay. Actually, now we don't follow the 8 kingdom classification. It is like kind of like we'll go for 3 domain classification. Okay. So the latest trend is like 3 domain classification. We generally like are not going to this thing. It is oh, I mean, like you should be writing this because this is like kind of a notes. You can take it down, some running notes. If you're taking it, it's good. But as per the CBSE syllabus, so this is what is there. So we have to study something which is old. Okay. So now we are using something called as a domain classification. So which is a 3 domain classification we are trying to do, in which organisms are grouped into 3 categories. So if we are completing all these things, we'll complete this lesson. This is slightly a bigger chapter. It will have lots of new terminologies that are coming up. So better is like you please start writing those terminologies. And what I want you to do is I want you to maintain a separate dictionary sort of thing for this biology as well. Okay. So there are lots of new terminologies that you will be coming up with. So what I want you to do is I want you to make something like a glossary for every chapter, in which you need to write all the new words that you have learnt. Okay. And you will write the word and you will write the meaning of it. So that way what will happen is like it will help you to remember these things promptly. Okay, can we start? If you guys are done with this thing, please let me know so that I can start. Okay. So what happens is like initially around the year 500 BC, this guy Aristotle lived. Okay. So what he did was he was trying to classify organisms which were there in the world at that time. Okay. Whatever he was able to see, whatever he was able to gather information on, this guy Aristotle was trying to classify the organisms. So in plants, he came up with a classification that herbs, shrubs, and trees. He was classifying it based on one property which is called as height. So he said height is like kind of a criteria, and then like he classified them into 3 different groups. What are the 3 different groups that he was classifying it? He was classifying into herbs, shrubs, and trees. So and then in animals, he was classifying them into the ones which are having red blood and the ones which do not have red blood. So in red blood, whatever was there, he was classifying them into birds, amphibians, aquatic animals, and terrestrial animals. Like that, he was classifying. So based on the location where it is living. So this was the earliest attempt of classification, first of all. So where grouping organisms into different categories, that was done by first done by Aristotle. And after that, what happened was, so then the second person to do something big in terms of classification was Carl Linnaeus, Carolus Linnaeus. So what he came up with something called as a two kingdom classification. So in which he grouped all the plants together into one group as Plantae, and he grouped all the animals into one group, which is called as Animalia. So this two kingdom classification came up in this publication, which he called it as Systema Natura. Okay, so in this book Systema Natura, he classified organisms which will do photosynthesis, okay. Someone is asking me something which do not have a red blood. Insects do not have red blood. Okay, your cockroach and all, if you are killing, it will not give you a red color blood. Whatever you will see is a white color fluid or a colorless fluid. All insects will come into that category. You have reptiles. Some of the reptiles do not have red blood. Animals, yeah, like which are there. Mosquitoes don't have red blood. When mosquito you are beating it, that is your blood which is like coming out. Okay. So basically, mosquito is like if you are like beating a mosquito, that red color blood that you are seeing is your blood and not mosquito's blood. Okay. So he was classifying it into two kingdom. It is Plantae and Animalia. So this was the first attempt for classifying it into two kingdom. Okay. So then what happened was people were trying to find out that uh, there is one more group which is a group of microorganisms. So they said that plants and animals are not alone there, but there are something which is called as microorganisms. So which means we should not be classifying them into two groups, but we should follow a three kingdom classification, they thought. So this three kingdom classification included three groups. The first group was Plantae. The second group was Animalia. And then the third group that they argued was Protista. In Protista, they tried to keep all the unicellular organisms. Okay. So what they were trying to do was, they were trying to say that this is unicellular organisms. This is Animalia will include all the multicellular organisms, which are heterotrophs. And then this will include all the multicellular and autotrophs. So this three kingdom classification was given by this guy who is called as Ernst Haeckel. Okay, so this Ernst Haeckel was trying to do this thing. And then later what they felt was that there is one more thing which is called as a fungi. So fungi is totally different from all these things. So what can we do? So they created one more group which is called as a four kingdom classification, which will include fungi, protista. Then you have your plants and animals. So this four kingdom classification came into the picture. But finally, what happened? They said like five kingdom classification is better. And then what they moved on to, now there was a scientist who was called as Whitaker. So this person called as Whitaker came up with a classification system called as a five kingdom classification, which will include Monera. The second one is Protista. The third one is fungi. The fourth one is Plantae. And the fifth one is what we call it as Animalia. So what is this Monera? This Monera is something which will include all the unicellular and prokaryotes. Okay, so all unicellular and prokaryotes come into this category. Someone is asking me who gave this four kingdom classification. This four kingdom classification was given by a person called as Herbert Copeland. So this Herbert Copeland will include this, he did this thing. You should memorize the scientific names of some organisms at least which are there in the CBSE textbooks. If you're not looking for NEET, I think you should know at least whatever is given in the CBSE textbook. So that is very essential. The word prokaryote here means that they have a primitive nucleus. I'll explain what is Monera. And then what they came up with, like the second one is unicellular organisms that are eukaryotes. So this will include all the multicellular and which was saprotrophs. So this was including all multicellular and autotrophs. This was including all multicellular and heterotrophs. No, scientist name is not required. I mean, like in your textbook, Whitaker's name will be given. Whereas this Ernst Haeckel name and then like Herbert Copeland name is not given. That is just an extra point. Carl Linnaeus name will be given. So this name would be given. Aristotle's name would be given. and they would have given this Whitaker's name. Okay, so this 5 kingdom classification is going to classify organisms based on some properties. So they have classified it like this. So please take this thing down. If you guys are done, you please let me know so that I can switch. Okay, cool. So please quickly see this thing also. Someone said wanted the third slide. Tambi, we are doing whatever is given in the CBSE textbook. We are not going for this Thomas Carvallier classification and all. Okay. Okay, so first let us start with what are the broad ideas that they were having while they were classifying these organisms. Okay, so what are the properties that this person called as Whitaker considered while going for this particular classification? So uh, now we are going to study on characteristics considered for classification. Okay, the first thing is cell structure. The second thing is body organization. The third thing is mode of nutrition. The fourth thing relations. And fifth one is reproduction. So this person Whitaker was trying to classify organisms based on these 5 properties. So what is the meaning of cell structure? Whether the cell was having a prokaryotic cell structure or eukaryotic cell structure. He wanted to know that thing. What kind of cell was there? So whether it is prokaryote or eukaryote, he used that particular classification. What is the prokaryotic cell? What is the eukaryotic cell? You will study it in this particular chapter called as cell in detail. But as of now, you please understand that prokaryotes are cells which are primitive in nature. So these cells will not have a well-defined nucleus. So they will have like the DNA content will be like kind of like randomly distributed in the cell. On the contrary, your advanced cell, which is a eukaryotic cell, will have a proper cell, and then it will have something called as a nucleus. And inside the nucleus only, you will have your DNA or the genetic material. So this is what we call it as a eukaryotic cell. Okay, so this is prokaryotes do not have nuclear membrane, whereas eukaryotes will have nuclear membrane. Okay, this is a well-defined nucleus. So this is a primitive nucleus. So this was what is the structure between primitive and advanced. So he was trying to classify them and what kind of cell structures are there. Cell molecules are making it. Whether it is made up of cellulose or whether it is made up of non-cellulose. Like that, he was trying to classify based on the chemicals making it also. Whenever I'm talking about cell structure, I'm talking about 2-3 factors. What are the 2-3 factors? One is like whether it is having a prokaryotic cell organization or a eukaryotic cell organization. And the second thing which is there is what kind of molecules are making that particular cell. So they were like kind of classifying it based on these things. Then you also have what you call it as the body organization. What kind of body organization is there? Whether it is cellular level or it is tissue level or whether it is organ level or whether it is organ system level. You have all these things are types which will come under multicellular. And this one is unicellular. So he was trying to classify organisms based on whether it is unicellular or multicellular. So this is like the second property that was considered. The third property is mode of nutrition. Whether something is autotrophic or heterotrophic or saprotrophic or any other mode of nutrition. Basically, saprotrophic will come under heterotrophic only, but we are trying to consider it as a separate thing. So what he was trying to tell was like he was trying to say that different organisms have different mode of nutrition. So he considered mode of nutrition as one of the criteria for classifying organisms. Then he is talking about phylogenetic relations, which means the evolutionary relationships. So how are 2-3 organisms related to the evolutionary thing? So he was classifying all dogs into one group. He was classifying all into one group. Like that, he was trying to see the evolutionary relationship between 2-3 organisms. So this is one more criteria that he was trying to use. And the last criteria he was using was reproduction, whether some organisms were reproducing asexually and some organisms were reproducing sexually. He was also able to classify them with the help of the mode of reproduction. Okay, whenever I'm talking about saprotrophic means something which will eat on the dead and decaying substances. Saprotrophs is a type of nutrition where the organism will depend on dead and decaying substances. You talk about fungi. Fungi will be like decomposing. Anything which decomposes is a saprotroph. Okay, so based on these 5 criteria, he classified the group of organisms. So quickly take this thing down. Yes, he did consider oviparous and viviparous under reproduction. Yes. So that is also one more thing. So which means what I'm trying to tell is like these are the broad criteria which he was trying to classify it on. So inside one of these things, like you will have many subtypes. So there are some things which are autotrophic, but still inside that there will be a autotrophic plus heterotrophic mode. Okay. So similarly, based on the properties only he has classified. So, but the broad considerations that he has taken for classification is the cell structure. Even in cell structure, you also can talk about anatomy of a cell. Okay. About the chemical thing. Scavengers will eat things fully. So they will not come under saprotrophic exactly. They will be heterotrophs only. So scavenger birds like vulture and all will be coming not under saprotrophs. Okay, what is the basic difference between saprotroph and a normal heterotroph is a normal heterotroph. You have to know the difference between three things. There are three types of heterotrophic nutrition. One is what we call it as a holozoic nutrition. The second one is parasite. And the third one is saprotrophs. So holozoic will consume food inside and digest. Saprotrophs will digest food outside and consume. Okay, parasites will live with the host and derive food from without killing it. So, say for example, if you're talking about holozoic nutrition, you can talk about a lion or a tiger. A lion or a tiger will kill and then only it will take it. So, even if you are going to you are going to eat a chicken, you are going to kill the chicken and then only you are going to eat it. If you are going to eat a plant, you are going to kill that plant and then only you are going to eat it. So, where the organism is killing one organism and it is trying to consume, there we call it as a holozoic. You are taking the food inside completely. That is holozoic. If you are talking about parasites, parasites will not kill the organisms. So, say for example, leeches in your body, or you talk about lice in your hair. So, it will not kill you. But what it is trying to do is it is trying to consume food from you. And it is like kind of like taking your food. Okay, saprotrophs will digest it outside and it will try to consume only the nutrients. So digestion will not happen inside the saprotroph, but digestion will happen outside in the saprotroph. Decomposers are heterotrophs only. Okay, if you're talking about insectivorous plants will have they will have chlorophyll. Okay, they will have green parts of the plant which will do photosynthesis. But what they don't have is they don't have a mechanism to take nitrogen. So nitrogen only they will consume it by insectivorous thing. Okay. So when we are telling insectivorous plants are not completely heterotrophic. Insectivorous plants are phototrophic, but to derive something specially, they are going for I mean like for need of nitrogen, they are trying to do it otherwise. Decomposers are heterotrophs only because they are coming under the category of saprotroph. Are you guys understanding? So these are the classifications. So this is the thing. the parasite will not kill it to consume it. Probably it is killing it because it has affected it to an extent where it has killed. Okay, but normally a parasite would not kill the host because it will try to extract the nutrients alone and it will harm, but it will not kill it because parasites will need the host to survive. Symbiotic mode of nutrition is also heterotrophic only, but there it is like a different kind of interaction. It is just an interaction. It is not a mode of nutrition. Okay. Rhizobium is going to take it from the plants. How is it taking? It is kind of like giving something and taking something. How is it consuming it inside? It will come under holozoic only. Okay. So symbiotic is not a special type of nutrition. Symbiotic is just a interaction between two organisms. Okay. Which one? Primitive and advanced cells are there. So I have talked about the thing. Anything else? I'm talking about prokaryotes and eukaryotes. Prokaryotes are cells which are primitive in nature. They do not have a nuclear membrane. Whereas eukaryotic cells are advanced in nature and they have a nuclear membrane. Can we proceed further? Okay, thank you. So now we'll go to Kingdom Monera. So listen, I have given introduction about classification. Earlier attempts also is done. So now we are going into the main part of the lesson, which is five kingdom classification. Okay. So introduction to classification is how organisms are classified. That is what we have studied here. Okay. And then you have the earlier attempts is the history. I have told you about all these things. Aristotle's classification system, two kingdom classification, 3, 4 kingdom classification, and 5 kingdom classification is all the attempts. So now we are going into the main part of the lesson where we are going to study about Monera. I will show all the slides in 5 minutes. Let us just study about Monera and then like I'll come there. So what is this kingdom Monera? This kingdom Monera is a kingdom which comprises of unicellular organisms. They are prokaryotes. They will have a cellular level of organization. Okay, the reproduction can be asexual or sexual. Not exactly sexual. Okay, wait a minute. Asexual or vegetative, or they might have transfer of genes. Okay, and then the fifth one is nutrition. Is they can be autotroph or heterotroph, or they can be all the three. So hetero, this is also a type of heterotroph. So I am just mentioning it here. But apart from that, it is also a saprotroph. So what do I mean by this thing? Whenever I'm saying unicellular, one organism is just one cell. But whenever I'm saying it is a cellular level of organization, sometimes these organisms can be living in colonies. Or these organisms can be living in filaments. Even in this case, they will not behave like a tissue, but they will behave like a cell. So that is why we call it as a cellular level of organization. Okay. Okay, that is what I am saying. They can reproduce by conjugation. That is what I have mentioned it by as transfer of genes. Okay, conjugation only I have mentioned it as transfer of genes. I will explain this thing when we are coming there. Okay. So when we are talking about what is the difference between this unicellular and cellular level of organization, whenever I'm talking about unicellular, the organism is unicellular as such. But when they are present as a group, they will not function like a tissue, but they will all function independently only. That is what we mean by cellular level of organization. Okay, so Monera is a kingdom which is unicellular. It is made up of prokaryotes. It has a cellular level of organization. The reproduction can be any of these things. And then the nutrition can be any of these things. Okay, so slightly moving further, what is the cell type we have studied? The cell type is prokaryote. Prokaryote is the cell type. Whether they will have cell wall, yes, they will have cell wall is present, and it is made up of non-cellulose polysaccharide plus amino acid. This is not chitin. I will try to explain what it is. So basically carbohydrates can be classified into three types. One is monosaccharides. The other one is what we call it as disaccharide. And the third one is what we call it as polysaccharide. What is the meaning of saccharide? Saccharide means sugar. There are some carbohydrates which will have only one sugar. Only one sugar molecules will be independently present. You can talk about glucose as an example. Glucose is a monosaccharide. Fructose, galactose. All these things are example for monosaccharides. When two of these things are joined together, it becomes a disaccharide. So let us say for example, glucose and glucose joined together, it will form a disaccharide which is called as maltose. So glucose and fructose is going to join together. It will form what we call it as a sucrose. All these things are example for disaccharides. When two sugars are joined together, we call it as disaccharide. When many sugars are joined together as a chain, say 100 molecules, 200 molecules, 500 molecules, like that, we call that as a polysaccharide. Okay, so that is what is the meaning of the word polysaccharide. So here in these Monera family, the cell wall is made up of non-cellulose polysaccharide. What is the meaning of it? Cellulose is one type of polysaccharide. So some of the examples of polysaccharide are cellulose. You have your starch. You have glycogen. These are all examples for polysaccharides, many sugar molecules joined together. Okay, so the chief component in cell wall in most organism is cellulose. So what they are trying to do is they are trying to differentiate it here, saying that this cell wall is not cellulose. It is made up of a substance which is very distinct from cellulose, and it is a polysaccharide which is present along with amino acid. Okay, so that is what they are trying to tell here. And they will have nuclear membrane is absent. So these are some of the points that you should know about Monera. Monera is not yet done. We have just started it now. So, but still it is time now. So we will try to wrap off. What I will try to do now is I'll try to show you all the slides. You please see one by one, and then like we can conclude today's class. We'll continue it on Tuesday. So slide 1, slide 2, slide 3, slide 4, slide 5. This is where the chapter begins. Slide 6, slide 7, slide 8, slide 9, slide 10, 11, 12, 13. Okay, so with this thing we'll wrap up today's class. Thambi, you can do the thing in case if it is available in Learnity, you can do the things, but I suggest you just stick on to the CBSE textbook. If you want to prepare for NEET, then you go for those things. Ma, which slide do you want, Ma Usha Nandini? Which slide do you want? Yes, it would be helpful for NEET exams as well. So I'm done. Thank you very much, students. You may leave now. Sir, I'm done. Thank you, children.